I wanted to start this new series I've been workshopping off on the right note, with perhaps the most enigmatic, strange character baseball has seen in recent years. Greinke has countless stories dedicated to his absurdity, but rest assured, I'm going to do my best to find and present the ones I think best capture the essence of Zack. Also, just a heads up, the B-roll for this one is going to be pretty run-of-the-mill Greinke highlights, considering I don't have footage of nearly any of this, for obvious reasons. Also, shout out to Rustin Dodd and Jason Jenks for their recent article in The Athletic, which I enjoyed reading and research for this vid. Let's start off with perhaps the earliest evidence of Zack's weirdness, when he was in Single A for the Royals. During a period in his career when he refused to throw bullpens in between starts, instead opting for fielding grounders at shortstop, Greinke was still curious to learn new pitches, so he decided to try throwing them in actual games versus in practice, even once calling his backstop to the mound before announcing he was going to throw a cutter. "Do you even throw a cutter?" he was asked, to which he promptly responded, "No, but I can." He only agreed to actually throw bullpens after his AAA pitching coach, Dave LaRoche, agreed to let him mess around after a few focused fastballs to prove he was loose and in good health. The deal also included him teaching Greinke his famous La Lob, a looping eephus he employed in his heyday. This came with the caveat that Greinke wouldn't throw it in games. As we know today, many La Lobs later, this didn't exactly go according to plan. Our second story concerns his former teammate Alex Gordon, again from his KC days. Gordon was in the midst of a mighty struggle at the plate, going hitless for a number of games in a row after just recently emerging as a potential star for the Royals. One day, after another tough game, Zack called him into the video room. Now, if you don't already know this, Zack is seen as somewhat of a baseball savant, someone who's capable of reading the landscape of play like few others. So, Gordon was understandably excited. What amazing knowledge did this guru hold? He walked in and immediately saw that Greinke had the video of the home run he himself had hit when he was a rookie, and was playing it on a loop. He then turned to Alex with a straight face and said, quote, "Do more of that. You can't make this stuff up." Then there was the time he met the President of the United States. He was in the middle of a phenomenal All-Star season in 2009, a campaign in which he had, quote, decided to throw harder, leading to him clipping up to 100 miles per hour after being known as a 92 to 94 guy before, leading to him getting selected for the All-Star game, which was being hosted that year in Chicago. Now, if you didn't know, then President Barack Obama is a lifelong White Sox fan, a team and city Zack had judged as being pretty cold to him in his career up to this point. It made sense, they were a division rival of the Royals. But either way, Greinke ended up saying that he was disappointed with the interaction because, quote, "None of the White Sox guys like me, so I was hoping that he'd recognize me and be like, 'You punk, I hate you.'" Yeah, that's an interesting takeaway from meeting the literal leader of the free world. Now, let's do one last deep dive into a story before running through some quickfire examples. This one comes from his days in Arizona and an at-bat versus Joey Votto. Votto himself is known as a baseball genius, so Greinke, when sitting down with catcher Jeff Mathis before his start to discuss how to pitch to him, decided to go with a decidedly unusual approach. He would throw him hanging sliders right down the middle. I don't know," Mathis said in response, "but if you want to do this, I'm not going to argue." So the day of the game came, and Greinke proceeded to do just that, spinning one right in the middle of the plate for strike one before proceeding to do the exact same thing on strike two. Votto took both, then stepped out, and remarked to Mathis, "What the F was that?" He had outsmarted a player by playing stupid. There's perhaps no one else in baseball history who would have thought of doing so, but Zack certainly isn't like any other player. Now for a few of our quicker stories. There was the time he reminded the entire Dodgers team to start washing their hands after they were done doing number 2 during a pre-postseason meeting. The time he intentionally hit a teammate with a pitch in a sim game because he, quote, didn't want to waste all his pitches facing him. The time just this offseason he asked his new pitching coach in KC, Brian Sweeney, if he was actually going to coach after he was quiet during a Greinke bullpen, before remarking a couple weeks later, after they had had a few conversations, that he was doing a better job coaching since he wasn't very good the first time. How about his crazy clauses in his Arizona contract, including 10 tons of guacamole, a minority stake in a Chipotle franchise, a Blu-ray copy of Shawshank Redemption, and an authentic samurai sword? And lastly, let's end the vid with a quote from one of the catchers who caught a large portion of Greinke's career, AJ Ellis, on the subject of, believe it or not, fantasy football. It was during the middle of his warm-up session in the Dodger Stadium bullpen. At that point, it was like 7:03 p.m. All of a sudden, he stops throwing and starts walking towards me, so I pop up from behind the plate and meet him halfway. He looks at me and says, "I've been thinking, you have this quarterback injury issue going on right now. I've got a ton of quarterbacks on my roster, and I noticed you've got a bunch of wide receivers on yours. I think we match up really well, so I think you should make a trade. We'll talk about it a bit later." Then he totally 180'd and walked back to the mound. Perhaps no single story illustrates the madness that is working with Zack more than hearing fantasy football trade ideas just minutes before a major league start. Now, thanks for watching everyone. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the vid, and recommend other players who would be great in this series. Click on this playlist for other essay content just like this, and have a great day.